Right, great. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're really going to try to keep to our timeline of 5:30 to 6:30 here. I just want to introduce, let me just admit a couple other people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here this evening for Well Together, Portraits of Community by Janine Mapurunga. My name is Donald Gensler, and I'll be your MC for the evening. I'm the Art and Public Places project manager with the Sacramento Office of Arts and Culture. And we have two staff with us here this evening. Megan Van Voorhees, our Cultural and Creative Economy Manager, and Miss Melissa Cerrone, our Education Manager. And there may be some other folks coming on. So thank you for being here. It's my great pleasure to share really this creative placemaking project with all of you along Bruceville Road. We're here to celebrate the work of artist Janine Mapurunga and the many participants from District 8 that worked to help work to make this project happen. And on that note, I am trying to keep to a timeline, so I may kind of encourage people to finish up as we move forward. But I want to take a time right at the beginning just to acknowledge the sponsors who believed in this project, supported it with their time and their pocketbooks, and allowed it to be a reality. So Kaiser Health, thank you to Kaiser Health for their sponsorship of this. Dignity Health, thank you for your sponsorship. Mac Road Partnership, thank you very much for your sponsorship. And SMUD, thank you very much for your sponsorship. And of course, the City of Sacramento, who sponsored this program. This was truly a public-private partnership. The person who encouraged this project to happen back in 2018 was the former council member, District 8 council member, Larry Carr. And we are really appreciative of Councilmember Larry Carr's trust and interest in creative placemaking along Bruceville. And we're thrilled to see that District 8 Councilmember Mai Vang has picked right up where Councilmember Carr left off. Councilmember Vang has been a staunch advocate for the arts and communities, and we are very pleased to have her with us this evening to make some opening remarks. Councilmember Vang, welcome. The screen is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Donald. Hello, everyone. I hope all of y'all are staying safe, healthy, and happy. Really grateful to be here for this amazing dedication event. Just want to give a quick shout out to the Sacramento Office of Arts and Culture and the Arts and Public Places program. This wouldn't happen without the incredible city staff. I also want to recognize Megan for her vision and leadership, and Donald for your heart and hustle as our project manager to make sure that we can execute these projects that are so important and vibrant to our community. And I think we heard from Donald already, but I also just want to say thank you so much to SMUD, to Kaiser, Dignity Health, and Mac Road Partnership for their sponsorship and support. I'm really excited for tonight's artist talk, Janine, and I'm really excited to hear about your work. And I want to say to you, just thank you for sharing your artistry with us and the community. And that comes from my heart. I really love the work. We drive by Bruceville, my family and I, and we see the work on the utility box. And I think it brings a lot of smiles, not just to my family, but our neighbors and to so many others. And so I want to say thank you. I do also want to say, the project that we're talking about tonight is really a phase 2 utility box wrap project that was really under the greater D8 Create Art Initiative. And that initiative is really about bringing more art into the district. And I want to share a story. Councilmember Carr was a champion to make sure that we can bring more arts into our district. And I was actually his staffer when he came on as a councilwoman, as council member. And actually, I was the staff that actually helped led the first phase project with the 27 utility box that you see on Florin Road and Mac Road. And so I, got to work with the department and multiple artists. And so really excited now as councilwoman to continue this great work. And the work's not done. There's so much more work that we need to do. There's more art projects that we have to bring to our district. I always say, we shouldn't just be seeing the artwork in downtown. It needs to be here in our neighborhoods as well. art could be created anywhere, right? And it's about placemaking, and it's so important when we think about the livelihood. We think about healthy communities, right? We think about when I was sharing about placemaking. I mean, art is such a critical component of that. And so I just wanted to say thank you again to all of you who made this possible, to all the funders, and again, to all the artists for your heart and hustle and sharing your talents and skills with this community. And so, yeah, I'll just stop there so that we can start hearing about all the great work. I do also want to apologize that I have another event that I have to be at 6 o'clock. And so I have to jump off at 5:50, I believe. And so I just wanted to apologize to let you know I wanted to be here for the whole event, but I have to jump off for another. But just really grateful to be here and really excited to continue this work because this is not the end and we still have a lot more work to do. So with that, thank you so much. And Donald, thank you for giving me the virtual stage.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember Vang. And that's just terrific, that reminder that, you know, those years ago that you had done that work along Meadowview and all along Florin Road, where we have a number of also wrapped boxes. So absolutely, this is phase 2, and we're looking forward to increasingly meeting our goal of infusing one of our goals for the Creative Economy Plan, cultural plan of infusing art, you know, communities and neighborhoods with art and culture. And so I think that's really what we're doing here. So thank you, Councilmember Vang, for being here. On that note, I really would like to also introduce our Office of Arts and Culture Creative Economy Manager, Megan Van Voorhees, to talk a little bit about what the Office of Arts and Culture is doing and what kind of work we're doing all throughout the city. Megan?
Thanks, and I'll be brief because I want Councilmember Vang to be able to see some of the great work. But thanks so much for having me. I think we do have a vision of really wanting to make sure that the arts are infused in everything. And I come from a long history of the last 2 decades, and the most recent decade really looking at the role of arts in our neighborhoods and shaping the places where we live and we play and we work, and also thinking about the role of the arts just generally in terms of wellness. And community well-being and public health. And so it's exciting then to see this kind of a project that really is exploring the subject of identity and its connection to wellness, because both of those things are really critical to social determinants of health, improving social determinants of health. And so I'm just very excited about that. And I'm looking forward, hopefully, to working with the team, Melissa and others on the team, to really think about how the both investment vehicles that we have are really supporting this kind of activity at a super grassroots level throughout the city, and particularly in places that may not have as much resources as some others to be able to do this. So that's something that really is very important to us. And also engaging in partnerships with other organizations. I had, you know, at the State of the City today, I had an opportunity to connect up with some community organizations that were doing work, and to really just share that message that the role of the arts can actually help them advance, you know, whatever their health objectives or their community objectives. And there seemed to be a lot of interest in that. So to the extent that we can play that role as a connector and a convener to make more of that stuff happen so that it is everywhere and so that everyone has an opportunity to experience it and benefit and grow and feel joy and belonging, that's hopefully what we're trying to do here. So Janine, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you about this project and the work with community, because it speaks to everything. It speaks to all of those things. And I'm just delighted about this work and to have supported a team who made it possible.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Megan. And we're gonna jump right in. I do want to acknowledge a number of folks that may be on, hopefully are joining us this evening, who were models for a number of the photographs that Janine took, and participants, and then also just folks that were interested. So thank you very much for being here. It's really a pleasure to introduce artist Janine Mapurunga. I met Janine about 3 years ago, and have continued to see her grow and develop and just continue to create incredible work here in Sacramento. Janine's home country is Brazil originally, but she's been very much a part of our Sacramento community. I just want to highlight for you that, you know, Janine studied photography at Sacramento City College. She also received a bachelor's degree in sociocultural anthropology from the University of California, Davis. She received a postgraduate certification in visual culture from Universitat de Barcelona in Barcelona, Spain. And then from the same institution, she received her MFA in artistic production and research. So Janine has, really come to the table with an incredible skill set, both in terms of her technical ability and knowledge, but also in her ability to work with people and communities. She's currently working in our AIR program, and we're thrilled to have her here today. So with that, Janine, the stage is yours.
Hello, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us this afternoon to talk about art. And because the time is crunched, let's go jump into it. Let me see, share screen. Where's the button? Share screen. Boom, share. Is that working? Yeah? Okay, great. Now we're gonna play there. Is that, yes, we have it? Okay, so my name is Janine Mapurunga, and I'm going to be first talking a little bit about my work prior to this project, to conceptualize where we are today. And then I'm going to mention a little bit about the AIR program, the project that Donald just mentioned, that will be installed next month. So let's jump in. So the beginning of it all for me is acknowledging what got me here, and I owe a lot of it to my grandma. She raised me, she got me my first camera when I was 10, 11 years old. And from there, I've started to work a lot on documenting my home place. And so this is in the northeastern region of Brazil. I've spent the past several years, since 2003, I've been documenting the activities at my grandma's house. This is where I was raised, and also collecting recipes and so forth. This particular image here is mango season for all you mango lovers out there. And so my focus ends up being very intimate, from the sense of being and the sense of aesthetics that I've developed growing up. Also in our home was my grandmother's mother, my great grandmother, who sewed all my clothes by hand. And so so this type of project makes it very very clear that in order to be able to carry out documentary photography projects successfully, we need access and we need a lot of trust and intimacy. So so this is where I'm coming from. So let me just see if I can you guys see okay? So after many years doing work with documentary photography, I come to realize that what I really do is I observe activities, I observe life unfolding, and then I'm always trying to capture this thing that it was very hard for me to put into words, and I think it's very difficult to be able to portray. And I call that the aliveness of the human spirit. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for those moments, that energy that essentially connects us as human. And so now I've developed documentary projects in Brazil, in the United States, in Sri Lanka, different places in Europe. But I really wanted to get us to our current place, Sacramento. So this is a little bit about the foundation of my work here as a documentary photographer. So this is a project called the Farmer Series that was commissioned by Patrick Mulvaney several years ago. This is way before the whole farm to fork situation or started, or the word isn't really situation, the whole farm to fork wave started. And so this really brought me to getting to know a lot about the local food industry. Also, growing up at my grandma's, we had the wood burning stove. I've always been very interested in food. And so that curiosity brought me to start essentially creating a collection of portraits and interviews of local food producers from the entire food chain, from migrant farm worker to executive chef. And so from that, I developed the entire project. I don't know if I should get too much into it, but that happened in 2013. So then what happened at the time was that it coincided with the announcement of Mayor Kevin Johnson, when he announced the efforts by the city to promote the food culture here in Sacramento. And so because I was already developing this project when the announcement was released, it was a bit of a happy coincidence, because everybody loved the project. We had great success, lots of exhibits around town, and so you can see some of the images here of the actual person with their artwork in some of these exhibits that we had. And it was really lovely because it was such a community-based project. A lot of people were attracted to it. And so it was just very, very nice. So then that brings me to when I first had my toes wet with the idea of doing public art. So these here were some examples of the first utility box wraps that I did. Back it was 2014. And this was by CADA. And now they are actually having the second go around with more utility box wraps. So that's very good to know. Here we are in Alkali Flats. This particular one here was, of course, you can see it was themed around my home, where and also my grandma, which is always where my heart goes. And then we have my doggy. This is in Alkali Flats as well. And so that brings us to District 8. So this particular box is on the corner of 24th and Meadowview, right by the Pinnell Center. And it was my first time working in District 8. So this was part of what Councilmember Vang was talking about earlier, the 27 boxes. And so this is the before and after of my box over there in the corner. So then that brings us to the project at hand. Pause for a little water. And so this was from the original call to artists. And the idea behind this project was they were to select an artist or an artist group to develop a project in District 8, and it had to be around health and wellness. So here we are, health and wellness. And so the original call asked for the artists to work with one community group to develop the project. And so my thought process with health and wellness was looking into my personal experience. And so I had already been reading a lot about what are some of the more important decisive factors when it comes to our health. And there are many studies that find that really the healthiest and the happiest people in the world are those that are most closely connected within their communities. And so then that got me to think, okay, well, here we are. You know, it's of course, it makes a lot of sense because we've evolved as the most social of all apes, and we needed community in order to be able to survive. And so then my starting point then went to belonging. And so thinking about how I would approach this project, that was the key for me, was the sense of connectedness and belonging. So I wanted to see how people were gathering, how they were engaging in contemplative activities, and basically what they did that really brought this nice sense of peace in the heart and well-being together. So that brought me to the idea of nurturing community, right? So then I will show you now a selection of images and talk a little bit about what I did. So I ended up reaching out to a million different leads that I could find. I just wasn't satisfied with just one community group, because in my point of view, that would just tell me about one piece of the story. It's essentially, if you're just looking at one square of a quilt, right? And so District 8 is a very, very culturally diverse area, and I really wanted to be able to give a sense of that and to be able to give representation as much as I could. Of course, you know, after 14 photo shoots and so much community outreach, it was, we had to get to the date where I had to start creating deliverables. And so I had to stop the archaeological digging process and actually start to, so unfortunately I wasn't able, in my opinion, to feature everybody that I wanted to feature, but you know, the things about funding and timelines, they get in the way of creativity sometimes, but I was able to coordinate 14 photo shoots, and I was able to show many different angles of the community. So I know that I'm going a little fast, but I just want to make sure that we have enough time. So we will just keep moving forward, and then maybe we can get to some questions, and if you guys want to refer back to specific images. Okay, I feel bad because I want to talk so much about each of these images, but we don't have time. And so basically for me, what ended up happening was after so much community outreach to everybody and their mother, I was able to get to that intimacy that is what I search so much when I am creating my documentary work. And I'm hoping that that the images convey that. I just wanted to get very close, and I wanted to be able to capture this energy that then could be shared with everybody in the community. And so the idea is the intimate that we could then share outside of that intimate moment. So then we get back to the installation, which is bringing the personal to the public, sharing the intimate, right? And so here we have, I just want to give you a map so we can locate ourselves here. So 1.5 mile stretch of road off of Bruceville Road from Kaiser South to Consumnes River Boulevard is where the final installation for the artwork took place. And so here we have to take a lot in consideration when we are incorporating our artwork on these existing surfaces. So I had to spend quite a bit of time making sure that when I would be transferring my artwork to the actual surface of the boxes, that there would be no big obstacles, because of course the box itself has a lot of different details, and so that took quite some time to figure out how to take my actual image and then put it on the three-dimensional object, and also keeping in mind that, you know, how is the viewer going to experience these images, right? And so then some numbers, because numbers math is fun. So there are 20 installed pole banners. I conducted 14 photo shoots, created over 5,000 images, wrapped 15 utility boxes, and there were 97 images out of those 5,000 images that were incorporated into the actual public installation. And so I've had this question asked several times of some of the participants. They would like to see the other images. And I have, as part of this process, I've created a really beautiful inventory of images of the community. And so what I'll be doing is I will be creating an online gallery where all of these images, more so than the ones that are in public, that those can be in the gallery and they can be shared very easily and everybody can see them. And also, if people would like to purchase an image print, they can do that from the gallery as well. And then, like I said, there were 19 community groups documented. A few of the boxes here, I like the idea of scale. I also like the idea when you're looking at these installations of if you can imagine how the images are interacting with the space around them. That's something that has to be taken a lot in consideration as well when we're creating these types of projects. I just think they're so beautiful. And then now, because of COVID, to be able to revisit this project, because we couldn't do this during the COVID year. So it just feels really nice to be able to see these, and it just makes me smile. Oh, sorry, there you go. This is very lovely. So then we have a few images with the banners. The idea of this project was to create a sense of corridor that stretched on that 1.5 miles. And so there is one large section of that space that doesn't actually have any utility boxes. And so we ended up creating that connection with 20 pole banners. And then my idea with the pole banners was each of the banners is a portrait. So I picked 20 people from all of the different photo shoots, and then I'm presenting them here to you so that the other neighbors can have like a little bit of an introduction. I should also say that it was very difficult to be able to translate the 2:3 aspect ratio images to this very tall, skinny format. And that's also what I'm working with right now with the project that I'll talk about that I'm currently developing in Natomas. And so it's very challenging. It seems like it's easy, but it's very challenging to change your aspect ratio so much. So I'm hoping that you're able to see, because it's hard to see how you could as you experience this space navigating by car or by bike, that you could have the sense of a corridor. And so when I was creating the designs for these three-dimensional big boxes, I again thought of this idea of a quilt, of a patchwork, right? Because thinking about the community as well, you think about, okay, there are all these different groups of people doing all these different things, but they're in the same community and all of these things are happening at the same time. And so each side of the utility boxes represents a different, how am I trying to, let me see if I can explain this. Instead of it being one entire box representative of one particular community group or one particular story, I created this sense of a patchwork by putting everybody together, if that makes sense. And then I also wanted to bring out this, oh, do we have time? Oh, let me see my timer here. Okay, I think we're okay. I also wanted to bring out this other element of the that really comes to play when you're thinking about public art, and that is that you create this piece and it goes outside. And in this particular case, for example, with utility boxes, it goes on. It goes over an existing surface. And that surface has all these changing elements around it. So you might have the light changing, and at different times of the day, at different times of the year, you will see the light showing different aspects and different details of the imagery of. And then, you know, you have the plants growing around, and then all of a sudden you have these beautiful roses and the roses die. So for me, this idea of thinking about the artwork as part of this living, breathing conglomerate of elements, that's kind of where my mind goes. So anyway, that's why I wanted to share that with you with these two images. So if you would like to see that gallery that I will create, you can write me an email if you would like to see more pictures, or if you want, if you have any other questions or anything else about this, you can contact me here. Now that brings us to the present. This is the Artist in Residency program that I am carrying out right now. And so for this particular project, one artist was selected to work with one community group in each city district. And for me, I was selected for District 1, and I was paired with North Natomas Jibe. So District 1 is Natomas. And North Natomas Jibe is a really cool organization that oversees transportation other than by car. So they're all about biking and promoting walking and taking the bus, and that really fits in with everything that I stand for. And so together in this collaboration, we created this project, Wisdom Travels, which is an oral history project where we are working with elders in the community who would like to share their personal stories that have to do with alternative transportation. So for example, we have one of the stories where a couple met at the bike trail, and they're very heartwarming stories. I must share that COVID was a bit of a pain in the butt here, like for everyone in the entire world, because the idea of working with the elders in the community came to me right away. And then when we started developing the project, we thought, oh no, now with all the closures and, you know, the elder community is high risk, and how are we going to do this? And so that process of community outreach was very difficult because we had planned to do all these one-on-one interactions with different community groups and all this other stuff. And then we had to quickly switch gears and move to virtual. We created flyers. Jibe did an amazing job with outreach too. We sent these mailers to people's houses, and I created a video, and we just did whatever we could to be able to get to our folks virtually. And so these are some of the flyers that I'm sharing with you. The idea was that you could nominate yourself or someone else, another resident of North Natomas. And so then people would go to a website on the Jibe webpage, and they would fill out the form and then share the story. And so I have a few behind the scenes images here from production. I can't share too many details about the deliverables and what we're gonna do, because that is coming soon. But I always feel that production images are very exciting. I always like to see the behind the scenes of other artists' work. And so this is why I wanted to share this with you guys. And the installation for this project is going to be next month. And there will also be hopefully an opportunity for us to get together in person and celebrate this other beautiful local community. And so if you would like to stay tuned for when we have news about when this new project is going to be released next month, you can contact Jibe through their website, also their social media, and then there is my social media there as well. And so let me check the time. Okay, 2 minutes. So that's perfect. Because this is the moment where I want to wrap it and bring us back to the reason why we're here. And the reason why we're here today is to talk about art. And we have been expressing ourselves and sharing our experiences and communicating with each other and connecting with each other through different expressive media that we now come to call art. But this has been happening through millennia, through the entire existence of the human species. And even as we were evolving to become the Homo erectus species that we are today, well, actually the Homo sapiens people that we are today. And the reason that I wanted to show this is some of these images that I'm showing you here are artwork that date back to 30, 40,000 years. And so I get this question a lot sometimes from people who are not maybe in the art field or are not necessarily very connected with working with the arts, is what is the value of art? You know, why should we care? And I always revert back to this sense that, you know, here we are with these with these expressions of us as humans that date to always. We have always, art has always been a key element of us, and because otherwise we wouldn't have had it for this long. And so I would like to bring attention to this integral part of being a human, which is to be able to connect through art. And on that note, I want to thank the Office of Arts and Culture, because in the, I think Donald said we've been 3 years, the past 3 years, we've been working together on different projects. And I've really seen how they've supported me, and they've really supported many artists I know. And on that note, I would say to everybody who's watching here today, that if you're here because of a reason, because you care about art in one way or another. And if you feel moved by these projects that I presented to you, and by other art projects, and if you see the value in having art in every element of every aspect of our lives, then we need you to speak up. And I am taking the liberty to speak for the entire local artist community, if I may, because when we go into these situations about deciding where budget goes, the people making those decisions, they want to hear from the community. They want to know if art is important to their constituents. And so please reach out and do make your voice heard. And on that note, here is my last slide, thanking everybody. And I hope that I made myself understood. And these are all the ways that you can be in touch with me. And I'm super excited about these questions that might come up now. Thank you.
It's terrific, Janine. Thank you very much. And what an incredible presentation. So, obrigada. Really well done. So with that, we wanted to make sure to leave some time at the end, and Janine did it masterfully. Thank you. So we have about 15 minutes. Because we just realized that everybody has busy schedules, and we want these events to be something that you always want to come and enjoy and be a part of. So in these 15 minutes, I think we're going to go to gallery view. Janine, if you would take off the screen share, we can always talk about an image if you're interested. Janine can pull that up. But I'd love to just hear from any folks that would have any questions for Janine, anybody that participated that maybe was in some of the photographs, if you all would be willing to say anything about your experience or any participation that you had in the project. So you can either do the virtual hand raise, or I'll just try to look at the gallery here to see if folks have their hand raised. And if not, I'll certainly start off with a question, but I'm hoping that some people have some questions, so we can ask Janine a little bit more about her process. Don't all raise your hands at once. I know it's tough on a gallery screen to always be someone that's sweet. I'll start off, Janine. So
okay,
so you and I spent a lot of time talking and walking the corridor, let's say, and yeah. I wanted to really advocate for people who are able to. I want to advocate to walk the corridor if you can. It's pretty good exercise. And and I think that might be a really nice way to experience the art. Certainly, looking at it through your car or a vehicle is equally enjoyable, but I think walking, you get a little bit more time, walking or bike riding or whatever you want to do. But I wanted to also ask you, Janine, when you go and you meet with people, how do you begin that conversation as a photographer you know, I want to start taking your picture. I want to kind of take a relatively intimate kind of start an intimate relationship with you, and I'm just meeting you. So what do you do as a photographer when you're kind of starting out that dialogue with the subject?
That's a really good question. But before I answer the question, I just wanted to make a comment about the walking the corridor. When I was deciding which images to put on which sides of the utility boxes, I took into account, for example, the sides or the back of the boxes, these areas that you could maybe only see if you're on foot. And so you might find some details and some kind of unexpected, more intimate photos, maybe on the back of the boxes. So there's a few little gems in there too. Of course, we always want to get people walking and moving as much as possible, because if you don't use it, you really lose it. That's how it works. But to go back to your question, can you imagine showing up to the random person with the camera comes up and say, hey, I want you to share your intimacy with me. Can you imagine how that would fly, right? It's a very delicate process. And so with that's something that I learned very early, that really is a very necessary aspect of documentary photography is access. And this was back at Sac City College when I was taking photography classes there with my mentor, Andy DeLucia, who has unfortunately since passed on. But he really showed me or introduced me to documentary photography. And so all of those projects back then, Mary Ellen Mark, W. Eugene Smith, all of those guys, that they had very, very much access. And so what you need is patience. And with this particular project, it was difficult because we're in a very tight timeline. And I was cold calling everybody and their mother from the community. And a lot of people, you know, there's issues with trust. Who are you? Why are you reaching out to me? And so it took a long time. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to a lot of the people that I really wanted to get, because I know that there are a lot of homes, residential homes for seniors, and but the red tape to be able to have certain access, it just takes more time. And so so what happens is I approach however delicately I can, and I try not to be a creep or to come off as someone who's a creep. And then if the person says no, but I really want their story and I really want to include them, and I think, you know, then I will try whatever way I can to turn their no into a yes. But I just, I try to convey the importance of their point of view and why I really feel that their story is important to share with others. And then I just get patient and I call back, and then people don't return, and then I call back and I just smile a lot. And then until some people, you know, the hardest ones, until they say, fine, let's take these pictures. But you just have to be persistent, you know.
No, that's terrific. Thank you. That's a really great insight. Janine, I have a couple of questions from the chat I'd like to read to you. So first one is, how do you document a moment without interrupting it? Long lens, close up and personal, looking at like dancers when there's like dress and movement and things like this. How do you do that without interrupting the actual event?
That's the $1 million question. You know, how can you make yourself into a fly on the wall, right? That's what we talk a lot about in cultural anthropology, is how do you become a fly on the wall? And that is, not everybody can do that. And for me, that's a skill that I think is a muscle, and you just have to keep practicing. So for me, I try to pretend that I have my invisible cape on, and that means that my presence, my energy is very unobtrusive. So even though I'm right there in the middle of everything and have a camera and I'm on people's faces and a lot of times really close to them, I mean, sometimes I photograph births. Can you imagine that? You know, how it doesn't get any more intimate than that. But you know, I've also been in situations where people are mourning the loss of a loved one, and so it's moments that, you know, have a lot of people are feeling a lot of grief. So you just have to be very mindful of the energy that you are transferring to the space. And for me, I just try to be very small, very little, and also compassionate to put yourself on the other people's feet and try and think, okay, how are they feeling right now, and how can my energy be what's the word I'm looking for, go like this? How can my energy go like this with their energy? You know, how can we flow together rather than me obstructing or taking up too much of the space? There's this other thing too, is like to take a step back and really bow. You know, you take an energetic bow, and then with your body language, and you know, you just with your humbleness, you try and stay away as much as possible. I don't use long lenses very much. I like to be very close to people. And so that's my note to that. There are certain situations where you do have to use a longer lens, like if you're on stage or something. But for me, I want to be really close. I use very wide, and I'm like right there on your face.
Terrific. Thank you. I have another question from the chat as well, Janine. What memorable responses have you experienced with these projects? And if you can, is there a kind of a most memorable experience?
Well, I don't know that I have a most memorable experience. It's hard to put things like that in a hierarchy. But I'll share a couple slides here from our project here. Let's see, share screen. Does that working there? Can you guys see? Okay, so let me go to this view here. Okay, so for example, I want to bring us to this particular image here. So this is a play. There we go, full view. Okay, so this particular image, I would like to shout out to Rose Family Services. They are a beautiful, very powerful nonprofit that is providing amazing arts education after school programs in District 8. And they were very nice to allow me to come in and document one of their Saturday morning activities. And there were many classes. And so it's a visual and performing arts academy. And so the day that I went was really wonderful, because it was their first day. And so they had all the kids in, and so the kids got to choose which classes they wanted to take. And so it's the first day of class. And so this particular image here is from the African drumming class. And so we have this lovely young lady here who's for the first time being introduced to the African drums. And for me, I have goosebumps with stories like this, because if you take in consideration, you know, the entirety of the context of how people were brought here from Africa, and then you have all these, this time has passed, and so many very difficult things have passed, and all this story and all this stuff. And then here we are today in our present day, and then we have this kind of reconnection where we have, here she is, you know, not with her cell phone, but touching, literally touching some of the culture that her blood came from. And so this is a very moving story for me. Another one that I would like to point out that also gives me goosebumps is Miss Barbara, a Mac Road partnership, a big shout out. I'm really sorry. I don't want to offend anybody, that I can't shout out to everybody, all the organizations I photographed, but we don't have time to go. I'm so sorry. But Mac Road Partnership really has this amazing community center. And this lady here, Miss Barbara, she was in her 80s at the time of the portrait. She was an after-school volunteer, and she was there with kids, and you know, elder knowledge and elder energy, and she's just so gracious to share that. And so I made this portrait of her. She was very shy at first, but you know, as what we were talking about before, I got her to agree to making, really wanted to capture her smile. And then some months later, we heard the news that she had passed. And so we heard the news that her daughter, and people who loved her were very, very happy to see that that her image was in this public sphere. And so this also brings a lot of warmth to my heart, because I love the idea of honoring where we come from, honoring our elders, honoring our ancestors. So yeah, sorry, now we're at the end here, but
no problem.
Yes.
No, it's terrific, Janine. Thank you. I did want to just mention one more just comment in the chat that Janine took pictures in my very busy barbershop, and everybody was comfortable with her being there and up close, and she makes people feel like they've known her for years. Very professional. So, you know, on that note, I think thank you for sharing yourself, sharing because you really do put so much of you into this work that you're doing, Janine. And yeah, I feel really privileged to have the opportunity to work with you in different contexts. I want to again thank everybody for being here today. Thank you all for being part of this incredible creative placemaking project, and for, you know, supporting art and culture in our neighborhoods throughout Sacramento. So thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon at more arts and culture events. Thanks again.